Welcome back to the Barrel Talk Podcast. We are back with another episode, joined with Nick Gwynn on the pod, talking some NBA. We're in the midst of the playoffs. We have some new tanking rules that have come out. I think it was like last night when the news broke, like before all the games started yesterday. So we're going to dive into some tanking, dive into some of the teams that have already been eliminated for the playoffs and some of the series that are already going on right now currently. But before we get into that, Nick, how we doing?
Doing okay, man, but my Suns swept
Yeah.
in 4 games.
Yep.
It was like the biggest amount of points, or like the 5th most amount of points in a sweep. You just hate to see it.
Mm-hmm.
But, we kind of saw that coming, I think.
Yeah.
We weren't even supposed to make the playoffs, so it's okay. It's okay. How are you?
I'm good. I was high on the Suns going into the year, a lot higher than more. This is kind of like where I expected them to be if they got into the play-in. I thought that they could make the playoffs. I didn't think they could be a top 6 seed.
I was kind of like, I think everything.
But they were in
different.
the mix.
If
they
we
were
had
in
the
the
Spurs,
mix.
if we had the Spurs, I think everything's different. I think we at least get one.
Yeah, you at least get one against the Spurs, in my opinion.
But can't lose that game versus the Blazers. We had a 10-point lead. Can't lose that game.
So, getting this episode started, we'll get to the Suns next. But new tanking rules. Looking at this, very odd. I'm always willing to give something a chance. I just have to see it play out and see what happens. But I kind of just said this in our group chat when we just talk NBA. Is like, I think this draft with these new tanking rules, it makes this draft, 1, already loaded with top-end franchise talent. 2, the most important draft lottery we've seen in, like, ever, in my opinion. Because with how hard it is for small market teams to just build competent teams, 1, you have the second apron to deal about and worry about constantly. And the second apron has made it already hard enough. You're adding these new lottery odds, and if you're already a small market team, you're not attracting free agents. So, like, if you're not getting lucky in the lottery and not attracting top-end free agents as a small market, where are your avenues to really get better? That's what I'm worried about with this whole thing. The only thing I liked, and just reading the article on ESPN, is that something I think should have been added a couple years ago.
Yeah, do you kind of want to go into exactly what the new proposal is a little bit?
Yeah, so it's basically, the biggest thing everybody's having a problem with is short and simple. The top 3 picks, so the top 3 worst teams in the lottery, have lesser odds than picks 4 through 10. They're calling it a regulation zone. Kind of comparable to like soccer terms in a way. They're calling it the regulation zone, and those 3 teams are getting punished for being that bad and getting a less % chance. The same odds to, mind you, so I'm going to actually pull up Tankathon while I'm talking about this. So, mind you, say Washington, Indiana, and Brooklyn, right? They're the top 3 worst teams. Bottom 3 teams. They would have the same odds as Golden State, who made the playoffs. The Clippers, who it's OKC's pick, made the playoffs. Miami and Charlotte. So you're looking at them having kind of the same level of odds as those teams.
So right now they have the top 3 have a 14% chance to get the number 1 pick. With the new proposal, they go down to 5.4. That's crazy.
I think this is... I don't think this is going to help tanking long term. I'm willing to give it a chance to see how it goes in a 1-year scenario, but you're also looking at next year's draft class is not as loaded as this year's. So I'm looking at this as like, they're just incentivizing more teams to just be mid. Because when I'm looking at Washington, for example, looking at their roster, they have a ton of young talent that hasn't really developed fully. They're not a big time market. Yes, they have Anthony Davis and Trae Young, but they had to get those guys through taking on bad contracts and then trading those bad contracts. And you can say right now, Trae Young and Anthony Davis are negative assets in their point in times in their careers right now. So looking at that, they're an actually bad team compared to Indiana, who is bad because of injuries, right? So like that's where I get frustrated in this is like, they're saying it's to help fix tanking, but it's just like, there are actually just bad ran teams in the NBA and bad roster construction. So how are we differentiating the Pacers from being bad due to injury and the Wizards from being bad due to young talent not developing, like bad management, bad coaching, however you want to say it. So how are we differentiating those kind of teams? And I think this is just incentivizing teams to just be more mid. Why are we giving picks 4 through 10? And this season, the 4 through 10 would be a bad team. So you saw Sacramento, Memphis, who blew it up at the deadline. The Hawks, Pelicans, who are actually a bad team, who should be a lot higher. Dallas, who just had the first overall pick last year and won the draft from a team that was looking on the outside looking in. And Chicago, who is blowing it up now. Why should a lot of these teams get this higher odds than teams that are actually bad? Yes, will it fix tanking and bottoming
In a
out?
way, yeah, it will.
It will.
It definitely will.
I just don't know how I feel about it because
I
Indiana and Washington's a perfect example of kind of my point this year. Teams can be bad for different reasons, but why are teams getting penalized for one genuinely being bad, like Washington's case, for having young talent on their team? Their whole roster's young. They don't have a single vet on the roster. They just traded all their vets. Compared to the Pacers, who are bad because of injuries. I think there's two different types of bad. The Pacers are tanking because they're hurt. Washington's quote unquote tanking, but they're also just bad.
Right. Well, it would force in a scenario where this is already past last year. It would have forced the Pacers, knowing the Halliburton's injury in the finals, they would have had to go out and make their roster at least good enough to where you could get one, like not beat one of those bottom three. It would have really changed how their offseason worked. And you're right. It's just because if those injuries happen at the beginning of the year, like what do you do then? Because then you're not, gonna make the finals or something like that. But you still have to not make sure you're in this bottom three, or else you're just screwed.
Right. From my point of view, it's like teams are still going to be able to tank. They just have to find a workaround way to do it. So, for example, the Pacers, who had injuries, Tyrese Halliburton hurt, a lot of guys injured on their roster throughout the year. The Pacers were actively tanking throughout the year, 1963. All they would have to do to get a higher pick than the bottom three actual bad teams in the league, due to whatever factor, is to win what? 6 more games,
Right.
And to get higher odds.
Yeah.
So you're telling me we're gonna fix tanking by making the Pacers win 5 or 6 more games with still not making the play-in, not making the playoffs, but we're gonna incentivize them. There's gonna be ways to work around this every time.
Yeah. No.
Every time
100%.
there's a new rule change, that people find a way to work around shit. And that's just kind of the Pacers are the perfect team to put in this bubble because they're not truly a bad team. They just have a lot of injuries.
You just have to like the team that wants to do that tank, but not like so much to get like what would it be like the fourth worst record if you wanted it'd be the 4th and 10th, so you'd want to be between 4 and 10. You just go throughout the season and just try to work yourself into it. We try these games where we know we have to win a few, and it would just be worse than what it is now, and then maybe that's where we start just doing fines like they did this year with the Jazz. Like if you just see teams doing that as you go, then you fine them. Again, we could just do the same shit where it's like, where is this a guy actually injured, or are we just resting him? Like, I don't know. I just don't think it's actually going to work because teams are just going to do the same shit, but they're just going to find a different way to do it.
Right. And that's why I'm kind of looking at this, because if you're, for example, right now looking at how it's all set up, lotteries in 11 days. If I'm Sacramento, Memphis, Pelicans, but it's Atlanta's pick, Dallas or Chicago, I'm looking at Dallas and Chicago like, we weren't good enough, and Chicago consistently isn't good enough to fully make the playoffs. They're consistently a playing team and gets bounced in the plan. But you're living nice. If you're a mid team, they legit went out of their way to give the mid actual fucking teams who never pick a direction a pat on the back and say, here's your reward for being so mid and not actively tanking. You're a bad fucking team, but you at least try to make the plan every year. So we're going to reward you instead of tanking every year. For a top pick. That's exactly what they're kind of doing and telling me here. Now, I do think the plus side is the consecutive picks. I think if they came out and said, this is the only thing we're adding, I think it would have got a positive reaction, because I think the consecutive number 1 overall picks, getting back-to-back number 1 overall picks, or getting 3 consecutive picks, 3 years of top 5 picks, it shows. I think you're looking at the Rockets with
that
Shepard, Green, and Thompson, 3 straight top 5 overall picks. Wemby, Castle, Harper, top 5 overall picks. Like, you're looking at those two teams, like, they wouldn't be able to add Thompson, Harper, with having 3 consecutive years of top 5 overall picks. I think if they would have just put that out there, it would have incentivized taking even more, because, like, we can't just do this every year. Yeah, eventually we're going to have to break through and turn the corner as a team.
Yeah, because if you get a top 3 pick and you get the number 1 overall pick, then you're not going to be able to do it again. Or I think it'd be more likely like the top 3 or top 5 that'd be where it probably affects some teams, because then eventually in this 3-year span you're gonna have to be better.
I think it's too situational based every season, because different for the Pacers.
Different things happen every year. There's shit we've never seen before every year. So
right.
It's, I don't know, as long as they are able to work around some things, then it's fine. But there's definitely some things that throw me off when I first look at it.
My whole thing when I try to like fix the NBA draft, is a very hard thing to do. Like, and all the things you have to like kind of like understand about the draft and the lottery process. My whole thing was, if you make the play in, you disqualify for the lottery. So we would actually shorten the lottery instead of.
Okay.
So now I'm looking at these play-in teams. If we lose, you're telling me if Golden State lost in the play-in, for example, they have the same odds to win the lottery as the Wizards.
Yeah, see, that's crazy.
I think if you
That's
make the
crazy.
plan, you solidify yourself as a playoff team.
Right.
And I think that would be a better thing to force teams to pick a direction.
I think if you just maybe like drop the play-in teams odds and gave the rest of those odds to those top 3 teams, so maybe they're still a little bit lower than the 4 through 10, I think that would be a little bit better. Even that's crazy that the Warriors could have like a better chance than the Wizards.
Even
right
looking at this graphic, the 7 and 8 play-in losers have a 2.7% chance. I gotta see this play out.
Is that the Suns and the?
Yeah, so Suns and the Magic.
Yeah, we're getting the number 1 seed or number 1 pick.
So I'm looking at this.
Let's go.
Like, wow, like I gotta see it play out. I gotta see more information come out about it. I gotta see some different opinions about it, because we live in a world where like I can look at it from a different light after hearing some other opinions and thoughts about it and be like, okay, that makes a lot of sense because it's still fresh on everybody's mind. It came out yesterday. But I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of like the consecutive years and top 5 picks and the consecutive number 1 overall picks. That rule, I'm a fan of that. But we're just incentivizing and rewarding teams for being mid
to pretty ass. But not
and if you're looking at this from like, will it officially fix tanking? I mean, it's gonna make more teams probably just mid. Like, it's gonna make the Chicago Bulls like it's gonna make the Washington Wizards kind of want to be the floor is gonna get higher.
Which is kind of the problem. Like right now is we have a lot of just super shit teams compared to the good teams. Like it's honestly that could help in some regards, but yeah, it's not gonna help fully, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta see more information come out about it, research it more, kind of find out what all is added into this as well. But we can pivot and get into the 2 teams eliminated right now, the Suns and the Blazers. I'm gonna go ahead and give my ramble about the Blazers before we get into the Suns, because you are a Suns fan, probably spend a little bit more time on them. For the Blazers, really successful season. Super young team, came out of nowhere. Nobody really thought the Blazers were going to be this good. Took a game off San Antonio. Denny's a star. You have a really good, competent roster around him. You have a lot of fun shit on the roster when it comes to like building a competitive team that I really like. Really good defense. Scoot Henderson, I think, has been the biggest surprise this year. He's really turned the corner. But I'm looking at next season, right? What do they need to add? You're going to already add Damian Lillard next year, who I think they could use a leader like him on the floor. You're going to be looking at probably keeping Drew Holiday, at least I hope so, because he's another vet that I think is very valuable to this team. Now you're looking at Dame, Drew, Denny, Tumani, Klingon. That's a really good starting 5 defensively, and you're adding a big-time scoring punch to Damian Lillard. And then you have Scoot, Shane off your bench with Robert Williams backing him up. You have Hansen Yang backing Klingon up as well. So and Jeremy Grant. I think Jeremy Grant might be the odd man out on this team, but I do think they're in a good position to continue to compete. Would like to see them bring back Thiago Splitter as a head coach, but I'm kind of high on Portland's future and what they could be next year as a team, because now all these young guys have playoff experience. Now you're adding Damian Lillard, who can be a closer, go-to guy next to Denny Abdia. I really like the ceiling this team could possibly have, depending on what they do else in the offseason.
Yeah, me too. I think Dame's the biggest part. I mean, when I was actually watching those games with them, Denby Abdia looks so bad sometimes when he's running with the ball. He makes some really bad decisions. As fun as he is and as talented as he is, he's on my dynasty team. He'd be helping me. But I think Dame coming back, he looked good in the 3-point contest. If he can be healthy the whole year and give them some real time, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be back next year. They got so much talent on that team. And Klingon's going to be, I think he could only get better. Yeah. I really like that team.
I think they're going to be a team that, I know the West is tough, but I think they're going to be one of those tough matchup teams again. I think they were this year. It just sucks because you're like playing the Spurs with Wemby, and like that's a tough matchup. You don't have Dame already, who could be another clutch scorer for you, like, and a leader for you. So like you don't have him out there. So I think next year going into it, they're going to be one of those sneaky teams who are like, damn, Portland's like been the 5 seed all year.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of my takeaway on it. Super high on the Blazers going forward, in my opinion.
Same.
And now, getting into your Phoenix Suns, I think the consensus thing when me and you have talked about it is that I'm kind of tired of Devin Booker point guard role. I want to see Devin Booker get back to playing the 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're looking at the roster construction. How do we get back to that? Right. I think if anything, if you're the Suns, you're looking at the season as a success. Before the season, I was high on the Suns. I said that they could be in the position they are in now, and that's where they ended up. But for me, I think they definitely need to add a point guard. They have some young talent in the mix. I like Haman, Rasheer Fleming, who I like. I think Ryan Dunn needs to play a lot more, especially over guys like Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen, just off the defensive side alone. But I was high on Dillon Brooks coming into the year. He's a culture-changing guy. Scoring burst this year he gave you was a big reason guys were able to stay afloat when Devin Booker was out.
Mm-hmm.
And Jalen Green, if anything, even though he didn't play a whole ton, if anything in the play-in and the playoffs, he at least raised his trade value.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's where I would go if I'm the Suns. But let me hear your thoughts.
Yeah, sadly, we just have too many guys that do the same thing, like Con Gillespie, Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, Jalen Green, a lot of the guys that do the exact same thing. And I don't really know much about our contracts right now, but we need to get rid of a few of those guys. Probably Jalen Green, he probably has the most trade value. I'd probably like to keep Colin Gillespie the most. I think he could be like a point guard / shooting guard off the bench that we could be using. Definitely need to go get a point guard. I really like Mark Williams, but it's really annoying how much he misses games. And Oso Ighodaro just isn't strong enough, isn't offensively talented enough to start. Definitely not. But yeah, I mean, I really like our young guys. We just have to get back to Devin Booker playing shooting guard, like you said. And I really just don't think his heart was in it in this year's. I don't know what it was. He just doesn't seem to want to take more than 15 shots a game. It's pretty annoying. He also just isn't the most efficient player anymore. He has not been efficient the past 2 years. So I don't know. It's tough. But I love Dillon Brooks. I mean, I really do like Jalen Green. I think long term, the KD trade was pretty good. I mean, considering what we thought we were going to get back, I mean, Dillon Brooks was definitely a W this year. I don't know. I like where we're going. I'm excited with the young core of the team. Ryan Dunn, like you said, should be playing a lot more. I hope Royce O'Neal doesn't come back, but he has given us some good shooting and some good defense, so I can't hate on him. But
for me, I'm looking at those years when Devin Booker and the Suns winning a ton of games, going deeper into the playoffs. I'm looking at Devin Booker playing the 2, not the 1. All these years that the Suns post Chris Paul era have yet to go and get another point guard next to Devin Booker. And I kind of compare it in my head towards the Lakers when they won in the bubble and you guys made the finals. It's like they went away from everything that was working for no reason. It's because for them, they went away from AD playing the 4 and we have 5s next to AD so AD can roam, be that great defender, but not have to tax himself with guarding opposing 5s in the league. The Suns had a perfect floor general to put next to Chris Paul, to put next to Devin Booker, which was Chris Paul, and they completely went away from it, and they wonder why they haven't been able to get and turn the corner since, because they were so reliant and fell in love with Devin Booker at the point guard position. And yes, at times it does look very good, but then you're seeing situations like, why is Devin Booker taking the 4th least amount of shots on the team in a closeout game? So it's alarming. So this is why I came up with something for you as a Suns fan.
Okay.
I have a list of point guards that the Phoenix Suns could, I feel realistically add this offseason. Some guys they would have to acquire in a trade. Some are free agents. No rookies involved because you guys don't have a first-round pick. So I'm thinking of these guys as trade assets and possible free agent ads. And I'm going to tell you also how we get there. Jalen Green's making $36 million. So you have the money to make it work with him. And he's going to be the main trade asset in this video because you're not trading Devin Booker. I think Dillon Brooks is too valuable to the culture. And he's making a lot less than Jalen Green. I think you can extend him long-term. He's 30 years old. You can extend him long-term on a really good team deal. So I'm thinking about the guys that could get moved that have high contracts. Jalen Green, $36 million. Royce O'Neal, close to $11 million next year. And Grayson Allen, $18 million. Because I'm going into this with, I want Devin Booker to play the 2, Brooks at my 3, and I want Colin Gillespie to be my backup guard because I think he can be your version of a Peyton Pritchard and be able to play the 1 or the 2 for this team. So here are the guys that I'm looking at. Nick, 1 out of 10, how excited would you be if these guys were the starting point guards on the Suns next season? First name up is Ja Morant.
John Morant, God, probably like an 8. Not gonna lie, I'd be pretty excited. I know there's problems with him, but he's still such a talented player in my mind. I think he's gonna figure it out, even though he was flash and gun core side
Yeah.
with his hands.
I'm very high on Ja Morant to the Suns. I feel like it's picking up a little bit more traction. I think it just makes sense for the Memphis Grizzlies to be in on somebody like Jalen Green with his upside, younger, could fit that roster a little bit better. And they're already kind of looking to move off Ja Morant. I think Ja Morant and Devin Booker moves me more than Booker, Jalen Green in a backcourt moves me.
100%. More he has way more ball handling abilities than Jalen Green does.
So you're at an 8 on Ja Morant. Next name up, Kyrie Irving.
Like an 8. Probably pretty similar. He's a little bit older, a little bit, I hope, a little more injury riddled. Probably similar. I'd still be pretty excited. Yeah, probably like an 8.
So I'm looking at Kyrie in a possible trade. Maybe Dallas in a point guard loaded draft. They're going to have a top 10 pick. They're looking at some of those guards right there. Put Jalen Green next to Cooper Flag, a proven scorer in this league who can still grow around Cooper Flag. Kyrie doesn't fit the timeline a whole ton next to Cooper Flag. You make that swap, and you have Kyrie, Brooks as your top 3 guards right there.
Yeah, that'd be pretty nice.
Next name up, DeJounte Murray.
Like a 7. Again, I'd be a little bit scared about injuries, but he came back, right? He's fully healthy at the end of the year. Yeah, like a 7. I'd be pretty excited.
That would be more of like a salary dump buyout kind of thing. Maybe you can get there with like a Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen kind of thing. Maybe a pick in the future, something like that. Maybe you don't have to give up Jalen Green in that kind of deal to make something happen. Kind of going in the same situation or same mindset of maybe there's the Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen route with Emmanuel Quickly.
Maybe like a 9. A little bit younger. I think he would be a little bit more of like a breakout role there. Probably is this where we probably have to give up Green, right?
Yeah.
Is that
you can kind of go with the Royce, Grayson Allen, maybe throw in another.
That'd be a little weird.
Smaller, yeah.
I couldn't see a world where Green is still there because I would want Quickly taking a few more shots. I think too. So I couldn't really see a world where Jalen Green would work there if we got Quickly. Yeah, probably like a 8 or a 9.
Toronto one with Quickly is like interesting because like it's what do you do with Barrett? Quickly's kind of their only guard outside of Jamal Shed, so some things would have to happen on the roster for that one. First free agent, Kobe White.
Like a 5.
5.
Be fine. I like Kobe White. I don't think he's a super difference maker long term, but we've seen some good play out of Kobe White.
Next name up, fun free agent ad that I think still has a lot left in the tank, in my opinion. Be fun. I don't know how it would work. Russell Westbrook.
I knew you were gonna say, like low key, I'd be happy about it because, like you said, it'd be fun. But like if I'm looking at it from a GM point of view, like a 3.5, just because I know what comes with it. Mm-hmm. But it'd be fun. I don't even think he'd start. He'd probably still start calling Gillespie over him, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Next name up, Devin Carter from the Sacramento Kings. Thinking of some Jalen Green kind of swap. He's not making a ton of money, but the Kings possibly. He's a younger guy. You still need to develop, but
I'd probably like a 4 or 5. If it was for Jalen Green, I was hoping we'd get a little bit more. Like maybe if we get somebody else with that, but
yeah,
probably like a 4 or 5.
Next name up, another Memphis point guard, Ty Jerome.
Like a 4.
4.
Not a needle mover.
Yep.
3.
And the next name up, Trey Jones from the Chicago Bulls. Kind of just fits that kind of rotational guard kind of role.
Are him and Tyus brothers?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, like a 4.
Yeah.
I was excited about Tyus, but he didn't really do shit for us.
Right.
I don't think Trey Jones would probably be fine, but yeah, I'm looking for a needle mover.
I think the biggest needle mover would be Ja Morant.
Yeah.
Getting somebody with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Get downhill. I think it would be in a lot to guys like Kaman's development. Mark Williams continues to develop. Putting Devin Booker back at the 2. And Ja Morant, Dylan Brooks already played together. Chemistry's already there.
Yep.
And I think it kind of gives the Suns a higher ceiling with Ja Morant. Kyrie's interesting because I got to see what direction Dallas wants to take with this team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Phoenix would be one of Kyrie's like, okay, I'm fine with going to play with Book.
If we're getting Kyrie, I feel like it'd be way more of like a win now.
Yeah.
So then you'd have to get like another piece. I think, or not another, like not in that, maybe in that trade, but like we'd have to get another big or something. Like then we got to
Right.
go all in. So if it was Ja Morant or Quickly or who else did you say? DeJounte, a little bit younger, I'd be, I think, a little bit happier because it could be a little bit more long term.
Yeah, I think John Morant is a big time needle mover. Another guy I wanted to put on here was Drew Holiday, but it's a little older, and I don't think Phoenix wants to go in that route specifically. So I went with a kind of a younger guys, Kyrie being the oldest outside of Russ on this list.
Right.
But I think for the Suns, I think the main priority needs to be adding a point guard this offseason. I think somebody like John Morant could move the needle a ton for you. And it's some kind of Jalen Green swap. Maybe you throw in one of their wings in that trade as well. Like maybe you could just make something work. But I think even if it was a Jalen Green, John Morant swap, I like that trade a lot for both sides.
Yeah.
Jalen Green could be a number one go-to guy over there in Memphis with what they're building, and kind of their rebuild, retool. John Morant gives Phoenix the ability to put Book back at the 2, John Morant at the 1.
I really like Jalen Green too. That's the thing. Sucks, but like we just don't have like the roster construction to have him and Book. They just do too similar of the same.
Right, I agree, and I think it's just a little bit repetitive to kind of have them both do the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we can kind of pivot towards some current playoff series that are going on right now. We can dive into Denver, Minnesota, which has been the talking point of the league. Denver still down 3-2 in this series. My opinion is I still think the Wolves have a chance to close the series out, but it has to be in Game 6. I don't think they can afford to go back to Denver for Game 7. But here's my take on it. And I know I've been very active in our group chats about what I think of this Denver Nuggets team. I think we're witnessing one of the biggest bailouts we have seen from a team that is a contender in their playoff run. Dante and Anthony Edwards going down in this series is a insane bailout from a team that has finals aspirations.
Yeah.
If Dante gets hurt, that's one thing. If they still have Anthony Edwards healthy, the series is already over. The Wolves are getting ready to play the Spurs next round. Because even in a game with no Dante, no Anthony Edwards, in a Game 5 on the road, Julius Randle stepped up. It's not like you blew this team out by any means. They still shot the ball extremely well, but they had a ton of turnovers, which led them to kind of get behind in that game. So I'm looking at this, even without Anthony Edwards and Dante DiVincenzo, the starting backcourt, the Denver Nuggets couldn't take care of business and blow a team without their two number 1, number 2 guys in the back, and they still couldn't take care of them. Minnesota beat themselves more than Denver actually beat them.
Right.
So I'm looking at this
25
series.
turnovers, something like that?
Yes,
Crazy amount of turnovers.
It was bad. So I'm looking at this Denver team. I think they're fraudulent. I think they can't guard.
Sound like Jaden McDaniels.
I just think this team is not as good as we think, and I think this team also gets a lot of, we have an MVP in Nikola Jokic. We have the benefit of the doubt. We have this and we have that. Nikola Jokic ain't even been the best player on this team in this series. Jamal Murray's been phenomenal.
Jamal Murray, yeah.
He's been phenomenal this series.
Yeah.
Jokic is the entire reason they got down 3-1 in the first place. Disappearing in the fourth quarter. And you know what? I'm going to give some credit to Rudy Gobert in this situation as well. Because he's somebody that always goes under the radar, will never get the high box score counting stats. But he's been phenomenal. This is the best he's ever played Jokic in a series format. So I'm looking at Denver. It's like, if Denver completes the 3-1, it'll be an underwhelming 3-1 comeback. Because no Anthony Edwards for the rest of the series, no Dante DiVincenzo. And then I'm looking at them next round, I'm like, the Spurs are going to embarrass the Denver Nuggets next round.
Well, the Nuggets here are in a lose-lose scenario.
Yeah.
You don't win. You sadly don't win here. You either win, and then you go on to the Spurs and more than likely lose. And then you look, people are like, well, you beat the Timberwolves, yeah, but without Dante DiVincenzo. Or you lose, and then you really look fraudulent because you lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves without Anthony Edwards and Dante DiVincenzo. So it looks really bad for the Nuggets right now. They need to beat the Spurs, sadly, for this year to mean anything. And honestly, during the season, they had a lot of stretches where they didn't look very good. They had a lot of times where these role players were not looking very good. Cam Johnson did not look good throughout the year. Bruce Brown didn't look very good throughout the year. Who was it? Tim Hardaway looked okay at points.
I think that
when Jokic isn't doing everything, this team is pretty rough to watch. And Aaron Gordon was just hurt throughout the whole year, and now is he hurt again? Wow, color me not surprised, bro.
I look at this Denver situation, and this team has some scary topics and conversations are going to go on with them this offseason if they lose to Minnesota, or if they do win this series. I think they get embarrassed by the San Antonio Spurs. I think San Antonio legit is elite at everything Denver can't defend. multiple guards that can get downhill, multiple defenders. You have Wemby, multiple wings that can score and put the ball on the floor and make plays. Like, they would be outclassed by the Spurs, even with Jokic on the floor. My whole thing is like, going into this offseason, you have one of the worst contracts in basketball, and Christian Braun,
Who
one
hasn't
of the
hasn't
one of the worst contracts that hasn't started yet in the
it
league,
hasn't
in my
started
opinion.
yet.
You have Christian Braun making $125 million total for somebody that isn't creating his own shot, is an up and down inconsistent 3-point shooter. I can't even say he's an above average defender. It's not like he's Tumani Kamara on defense and you extended him, Herb Jones on defense, and you extend Drew Holiday level on defense. He's an average defender at best, depending on the matchup. You gave $125 million to somebody that can only thrive with playing with Nikola Jokic in the cutting game. But we couldn't keep, and I'm not going to get too into the Michael Porter Jr. trade, because on paper, it made sense. They needed depth. They were able to add that. But Michael Porter Jr., who was also hurt last year in the playoffs, would be giving you more than all those role players combined right now.
Yeah.
Cam Johnson ain't giving you shit. You could have kept the guy that you guys could have brought in still and kept MPJ is Tim Hardaway, and he was the best out of all the guys you brought in this offseason. So I'm looking at Denver, I'm just like, you still don't have a backup point guard that you play. It's a lot of Jamal Murray creation, and he's been doing great. He's phenomenal in the playoffs. We know what Jamal Murray is in the playoffs. You have no backup for Jokic still. You have Valanciunas who plays spot minutes, but Jokic don't defend shit at all. The amount of wide open you drive. I was saying this when the series started. Nikola Jokic gives up probably the most layups wide open, has a paint protector in the league. I don't want to hear this, oh, but look what he has to do on offense. They won't have that same conversation with Joel Embiid. They won't have that same conversation with Giannis, who plays both sides, and Joel Embiid, who plays both sides, even through injury. Even through injury, I was watching Joel Embiid contest shots better than Nikola Jokic has all year. And Joel Embiid's coming off another injury and played better defense than Jokic has this entire year. But let's give the MVP 3-time benefit of the doubt, right? Let's give him benefit of the doubt, right? But I'm watching him give up layup after layup after layup. And this Denver team isn't the Denver team that won a championship a couple years ago where the perimeter defense was a lot better. It's not. You replace Christian Braun from KCP. That's a downgrade.
Yeah.
In this offense. Christian Braun is not the shooter near or the defender that KCP was at that time. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at this team, I'm like, I hate to say it, Nikola Jokic is the reason they're down 3-1. It ain't Jamal Murray.
No, it ain't Jamal Murray.
Yeah, could you blame it on the role players not stepping up? Yeah, you could.
You could, but
you could.
Is it their responsibility?
You could blame it on that. I can see an argument for it. But then I'm looking at, y'all wouldn't say this shit. If it was the Sixers, y'all would be like, oh, it's Joel Embiid's fault. If it was the Bucks, you'd be like, oh, it's Giannis' fault. If this was Golden State, it'd be Curry's fault. We're looking at the Suns now. It's Book's fault because Book wasn't aggressive enough. That's why they got swept, because he's playing the 2-guard. But when it's Jokic, we're like, oh, it's everybody else besides his fault when he's the worst defender in the league. If this was Luka, oh, Luka's not playing defense. Luka's not doing this. Luka's not doing that.
Right,
he's not active on defense. But when it's Jokic, just hold on. Let's give Jokic the benefit of the doubt. No, we're not going to give him benefit of the doubt because I'm watching these games and he ain't doing shit on defense. That's why I'm looking at in this series. That's why I picked the Minnesota Timberwolves to win this series, because I thought it was a bad matchup, because I thought Anthony Edwards getting downhill, they have nothing for any rim pressure that they could provide. And I hate to break it to you, Nikola Jokic is going to be the reason the Wolves still have a chance to win the series.
You're right. They still do have a chance. On the record, I do think the Nuggets will win. I do think he might smell blood in the water, and they can come back against this team that is very injured. But you aren't wrong. They still have a chance. They have a chance.
I just think, I understand he has 3 MVPs in a ring. I understand that. But he is in the same level, has a lot of these all-star guys in the league. People just don't want to have that conversation because he gets 32, 12, and 8 a night, or whatever he averages. And he gets held to a different standard. We can't look at him as an all-time great center already and then excuse every flaw he has. Yes, they won the championship. We're going on another year where they're getting bounced in the second round.
Maybe the first.
Like, I'm looking at this. To wrap this point up, the criticism we give guys like Joel Embiid and Luka Doncic, MVP level guys that get all the blame when their team loses. When Dallas lost in the finals a couple years ago to Boston, they didn't blame Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington, Derek White. They didn't blame none of those guys. They said Luka lost his matchup versus Jaylen Brown because he couldn't guard. That was the whole talking point. Every time you look at Joel Embiid and his team gets bounced in the playoffs, it's Joel Embiid's fault because he was hurt or didn't play well. But when Jokic don't play well, but gets all these empty calorie ass stats with these triple doubles and these rebounds and these assists, but they ass got beat by 10 points. Look at those 10 points in layups he fucking gave up. Look at those 15 points in layups he fucking gave up. But we don't want to talk about that. We want to talk about, his other players failed him. No, you're supposed to be an all-time great center. You're supposed to be up with LeBron, Curry, Durant in the league. And Durant gets his criticism. But we're not having that same level of conversation when it comes to Jokic. That's my problem.
I get
But if it was Luka or Joel Embiid,
they'd be getting all the smoke.
All the hate.
All the hate.
But if the Denver Nuggets lose this series, they're going to be like, well, Cam Johnson didn't play good enough this year. Right. And I'm like, y'all didn't watch the games.
Y'all didn't watch.
I watched Jokic probably give up north of 40 points off layups this series.
I mean, we've been knowing Jokic wasn't a good defender.
But we act like him and Luka are, he's above Luka. No. I can't stand for it no more. He is the one star in this league that gets the most benefit of the doubt I've ever seen. He can do no wrong in the media's eyes. No wrong. But I'm watching the games, I'm like, Jamal Murray defended his ass off right there. Ayodusumu ended up getting past him. Jokic did no help side. He don't even put a hand.
No.
He don't put a hand. I'm not asking him to go ahead and be Vic on the other side of the ball when he's doing everything off it, but you're not even rotating. You're just giving up wide open layups. And you could look at this if you were listening to he's just a Minnesota rider, he's just doing this. I'm not. Look at the fucking games. Look at it from an unbiased standpoint. Jokic is a big reason they're down in the series.
He's getting bodied by Gobert, bro.
He's been non-existent in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And to be honest, outside of the game Denver won, they have not been, before the Anthony Edwards injury when they were down 3-1, Minnesota controlled the entire series. They had the complete control of the series. If Anthony Edwards doesn't go down, Denver's already eliminated and we're having off-season talks. Minnesota would have went into Denver again and wiped that ass and got them out of the playoffs. And the topic at hand the next day would have been the role players didn't do enough to help Jokic. Because he would have had a bullshit empty calorie game of 32, 12, and 8. And I'm saying empty calorie game because he's giving up what he's giving.
Right. Yeah. He's giving it all back.
Those
he's
empty
not the
calories.
Defensive force that
No.
Yeah.
I just think, and we're looking at a lot of guys around the league get labeled empty calories. Star players. Trae Young, empty calories, bad defender. Devin Booker at one point in time was looked at empty calories before the Suns got good early in his career. So looking at all these guys that are top end stars in the league, have that same respect that you do for those guys. Luka, Joel Embiid, I think are perfect examples that you have for Jokic.
Thing is, I've seen Jokic be a better defender at some points too. It's like he just doesn't want to do it or something. I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
One, I think Minnesota has his ass frustrated because they've always been the one team that can give them problems consistently.
Okay, well, you can tell he's frustrated running up to Jaden McDaniels.
That's the fastest I've ever seen Jokic run.
Oh, he hasn't run that fast on defense in
years. Jokic ain't ran that fast in a game ever. He ain't never ran that fast in a game ever. That's my kind of takeaway. I still think the Wolves have a chance, but it has to be at home in Game 6. But if Denver does advance, the Spurs might sweep them. Realistically, the Spurs might sweep them. I think everything that is getting swept under the rug because of the Anthony Edwards injury and the Dante DiVincenzo injury in this series will be put on an even bigger scale in the second round of the playoffs and have more of a light on
De'Aaron Fox.
And have more. You're telling me Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, and Dylan Harper get into the cup, and
Devin Vassell get into the cup. Come on.
I forgot you got Wemby, who go have his way.
God.
So I don't want to hear no excuse. This is on you, Nikola Jokic, in my opinion. And I think if they get out of this series, the Spurs are going to make quick work of this Denver Nuggets team.
Lose scenario.
But we can get into another interesting topic. We went on for a minute about Denver. I did, because I had to get some shit off my chest of what I'm just seeing. Rockets. I mean, I don't even know where to start. I didn't want to make this a big Kevin Durant bashing thing. But now, we're looking at another situation with another team. I'm not going to say Kevin Durant's been the sole dictator in ruining a situation. But what else do you want me to say? The Rockets going into the season, last season, number 2 seed, right. One of the best young cores in the league.
Right.
Kevin Durant goes there, all of a sudden, They have one of the most overrated young cores in the league, and not even a full year's time. So what are your thoughts on the Kevin Durant situation?
I mean, one is just I think they sent away. We already talked about Dylan Brooks is a big locker room guy, and you brought in a guy who is maybe the most non locker room guy in the league. That's what you did. I think that's a pretty simple trade right there. And honestly, Kevin Durant is just what he is at this point. He obviously is a great scorer, but he isn't the best defender. He does have a turnover problem. I've been saying this for years, and he's not a locker room guy. And whatever he has done, he hasn't brought out the best in the players. So we're seeing worse from Sengun. We're seeing worse from Reed Shepherd. Amen's not playing good. Like, obviously we knew Amen wasn't a good shooter, and we knew Reed Shepherd had a ceiling to him, but he just brings out a spotlight to that, I guess, in a way. I don't know, but I think in a way, like, obviously bringing in one of the worst locker room guys, he's proven that at this point is just going to do that. That's just a gamble they took, and I think this is obviously the result. This is what you get.
Right. And I'm not going to go when they get bounced by the Lakers. Oh, we didn't have Fred VanVleet.
No, God, no.
You didn't have him go. You had the whole year.
You didn't do anything.
You had the entire deadline to go add a point guard.
You didn't do anything.
You didn't. You sat on your ass, and you said, we have Reed Shepherd and Amen Thompson. Two guys who you could have said last year.
You could have got, there's a bunch of guys.
Kobe White. But you rode with Reed Shepherd and Amen Thompson. When you could have said last year, Reed Shepherd has no playoff experience. Amen Thompson still can't shoot the ball at the guard spot.
Which I like Amen Thompson. He just needs to
get better at shooting. I like him too. But when you already have Sengun, who's not a floor spacer, and you already lack that floor spacing ability on your roster itself, yeah, I start to worry more about the spacing issues and everything else like that. Because it makes it easier to guard when you have somebody that can't shoot, especially against the Lakers team. So I want to hear them excuses. The Lakers beating y'all ass with no Luka or Y'all got Marcus Smart and Luke Kennard looking like all-star caliber guys. Like, they in their prime. I thought I was seeing D-Boy Marcus Smart the other night.
LeBron's 41, and he's making y'all look silly.
It's just so mind-boggling to me. I think this is like a weird front office fumble for not them adding anything at the deadline. I think that's something they should have definitely addressed, and we're kind of going to get into that a little bit with Detroit here in a second. And we kind of pivot towards that as, like, last year, you were the team playing with house money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're
not this year. You were the team playing with house money. You were a 2 seed, went into a Golden State team with a ton of vets, a top 5 player all time, depending on who you're talking to. Like, you didn't have that house money feel.
It's like you did last year. Exactly what we did. You had your house money, you traded it for Kevin Durant, and now the pressure is on. You now don't have FEV. We knew that the whole year. Kevin Durant misses a few games, and it is what it is. Like, the same thing happened to us. They just you didn't make changes when you needed to, and you traded away the young guys, or you traded away Jalen Green. And I'm not saying that Jalen Green makes a huge difference on the Rockets at this point, but I think that he could have, and having that young depth obviously helped compared to Kevin Durant, who is great, but again, just the team has a ceiling with him on it. I don't know what it is. Like, when he has the ball and when he gets double teamed, nothing's really going on. I don't know. They're a hard watch with or without him.
I kind of compare it to Detroit, and I don't want to get into that series because by the time we're recording this, we have Game 5 tonight. Game 5 tonight, so I wanted to save those other series that we haven't talked about for a later episode because they're still going on and ongoing and haven't had the biggest storylines out of them. I know the Detroit and Orlando one has, but I'm looking at Detroit and Houston as very comparable teams who have been the most disappointing this playoffs. Detroit had the house money year last year when they made the playoffs and had a tough series with the Knicks. They went into this year the 1 seed. You can't be the 1 seed and be on a house money situation to where, like, we're just a young team. We got to see what we're feeling like in the playoffs and see how we match up against teams in the playoffs. Yo ass did nothing at the deadline. You added your one move at the deadline. Let's trade our other secondary ball handler. This is before the off the court shit. You traded a young secondary ball handler for another Duncan Robinson who's worse. And that was it. They said, we're cool with the roster we have. And cool. But when I went to the chat and said, I think Orlando has, what, out of the 5 players in this series, the 4 out of the best 5? Because Jalen Duren ain't been playing like a top 5 guy in this series. He's been getting shoved by Wendell Carter. And this is a guy that was supposed to be making north of 35-40 million.
Yeah.
He lost that quick.
Yeah. He's getting exposed a little bit.
So I'm looking at this Magic team, I'm like,
Paolo, you
Detroit.
got Bain, you got Franz. Yeah. Well, Franz when he comes back.
So I'm looking at this team. I'm like, I see why they struggle.
Oh yeah.
Because Houston and Detroit are kind of comparable. They're two teams that lack spacing, that did nothing at the deadline. Kevin Huter don't even play half the time.
He's a worse Duncan Robinson.
You traded for a player that's worse than the guy you already had on your roster.
Man, when was the last time we got meaningful Kevin Huter minutes? 20.
Sacramento.
Yeah, Sacramento. Like the beam. Yeah.
And this is no hate to Kevin Huter, but I'm just like.
Now, to be fair,
his roles already had on the team. Why would you go add something you already had?
Right.
And trade something that you didn't have and didn't address it once you traded.
Now, to be fair, I think the Pistons are in a better spot than the Rockets for sure.
Right.
Because
I agree with that.
I think, honestly, just this pressure is being added on because they're the 1 seed. If they lose a few more games, they're the 3 seed, 4 seed, they're losing. I think we wouldn't be talking about it as much, honestly. It's just because it's the 1 seed and the Magic we're about to lose in the play-in. So, like, I honestly think that's all it is. I think next year they're going to be fine. I see them as being more of a not house money, but, like, not as disappointing. The Rockets, I think, are kind of fucked in this situation.
Yeah, I think there's more internally wrong with the Rockets compared to Detroit. I only compared them because they were two young teams that overachieved last year.
Right.
Rockets being the two, Detroit making the playoffs. And then these are two teams that had bigger expectations going into this year. Rockets added Kevin Durant, Detroit's on the rise, Jalen Duren breakout this year. Both didn't do shit at the deadline. Both higher seeds. Both struggle, and both didn't address those needs at the deadline, which both teams knew they had holes. I just think management fucked the season up for both of them. Because it sucks, because I think Detroit realistically got the worst draw possible, because they ran into the only team that is as physical, as big, like as talented as them.
I mean, you gotta remember, the Magic like just underwhelmed the whole year. They were injured, and they just kind of underwhelmed. They were supposed to be a top 5 seed, you know?
If you were telling me before the year that the Magic and Pistons matched up in the first round of the playoffs, I would have thought Magic were the 1 seed.
I would have thought it would have been like a 4-5 matchup or something. Yeah.
I would have thought, I was like, there's no way the Magic are the lower seed playing Detroit. Because I would have gone into the year saying the Magic were more talented. And I still believe that they're more talented. When they have a fully healthy lineup, they're better than the Pistons. And I said that before the series started in the chat. I said, after I saw game 1 and how Orlando kind of pushed Detroit around, and that never happens to Detroit all year, I was like, hold on. Because this isn't like they played the Hornets and the Hornets just fucking made 20 fucking threes in game 1. This is like, they went into your
hard-nosed basketball.
Yeah, they do everything that you do and can match you at it. And they have better spacing than you. So I'm looking at game 5 tonight. I'm like, I think the Magic are going to win.
I think it might be it.
I think this is it. Because I'm looking at Detroit. I'm like, what else does Detroit have to go to? And the Magic, who played just as bad as that Toronto and Cavs game that had no scoring whatsoever in it, and it was just a bunch of missed shots and great defense. The Magic played their worst game of the series and still beat you from an offensive standpoint. They had their worst game of the series from an offensive standpoint and still beat you. Cade Cunningham was terrible with the turnovers, and we're kind of getting into that series a little bit.
The Magic played so bad. The only shot they had in like the last 5 minutes of the game was a Desmond Bain bank 3. Like it's just,
the Detroit Pistons
terrible.
had one made 3 in the second half of a must-win game.
They had one point in the last like 4 minutes, and it was just one Cade free throw when he shot like 5.
To kind of wrap up the episode, and we'll get into the other series in a future episode, but I feel like we kind of touched on the main talking points is like Detroit, Houston should have added at the deadline more offense. Coming to light now. Denver, if they get out of this series, has problems with San Antonio going forward. I think that's another big-time mismatch for them. Suns and Blazers, high on their future. Suns have some roster construction things I think they need to work out, but I think they're better off going forward. Same with the Blazers. Tanking things, gotta see it play out. Not a fan right now. So kind of clean up this episode at the end.
I see what they're saying, but there's some tweaks that need to be made, I think.
Exactly. But we'll get into kind of the other series in another episode later down the line, because those series are still actually ongoing and are kind of, I need to see another game or two before I have a ton of opinions about it, because it's kind of just going back and forth in those other series right now.
Mm-hmm.
But anything else you want to add, Nick? Thank you guys for tuning into the Barrel Talk podcast. Hope to see you tune in to future episodes.